one of the most anticipated shows of the year, Stranger Things' first shadow has opened in the West End and is currently playing in previews. This prequel to the iconic TV show has stirred up a lot of buzz and has kept a very secretive nature about itself. And because of this, you may not know how to best experience this show. Well, that's what I'm here to remedy. Today, I'm going to give you a guide on how best to experience Stranger Things: The First Shadow, what you need to know before going in, the best places to sit in the theatre, and give you a rundown so you can feel more prepared as you book your tickets to go and see Stranger Things. Now, I will give a brief notice of the fact that I saw the show in previews. This means that things may be adjusted, things may be changing, so some of this information may be slightly adjusted. We can assume for the most part that pretty much most of this advice will still be applicable to the show when it opens on the 14th this month. And if anything major changes, I'm sure many of you will let me know in the comments down below. And when I eventually see the show again, I will hopefully update as well. But if you haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Ellie. I talk about theatre. I am the most chaotic theatre person on the internet. I do reviews, I do discussions, I do video essays. I'm doing guides now. This is fun, this is different. But if any of that sounds interesting to you, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me, it helps out the channel. But let's break down everything you need to know about Stranger Things. And don't worry, I'm going to avoid spoilers. So, I'm going to break this video down into sections. I'm going to talk about booking tickets, and specifically about the lottery, which I won to see this performance of Stranger Things: The First Shadow. So I'm going to give you some information on what you can expect as you win the lottery as well. I'm going to talk about actually entering the theatre, where the merch stores are, where you can get everything you need, the different bars, entering the theatre, what's expected, what's going to happen, and then I'm going to talk about general content warnings, avoiding spoilers as much as I can, and talking about the actual experience and what to expect where you're sat in the theatre. Hopefully, this will be a nice guide to kind of let you know what's going to go on, what you can expect, and help usher you into booking certain tickets, depending on what experience you want out of Stranger Things: The First Shadow. So let's talk about booking tickets. Right now, Stranger Things tickets are a little bit hard to get. It's a new show that's opening. It's very hotly anticipated. It's not impossible, but pre-booking if you want a cheaper ticket is recommended. I will say, when I was looking at tickets, as I was looking to hopefully go and see the show, there were quite a few tickets being sold at pretty reasonable prices, like £30 for the Grand Circle, being sold for like tickets a few weeks in advance and performances a few weeks in advance. So it's not impossible to get a last minute ticket to Stranger Things. Returns vary and they're a little bit unexpected, but you can get them. I would recommend constantly checking the Phoenix website, constantly checking ATG's website to make sure that if something comes up, you can snap it up quickly. But in general, if you want a £20, £30 ticket, if you want to see the show for a little bit cheaper, it's recommended booking in advance. If you want the cheapest way to see Stranger Things, that is actually winning the lottery. The lottery is done every single week on the app Todaytix. This is a very popular app which does a lot of the lotteries and the rushes for London and West End shows. If you win the Stranger Things lottery, you will be offered a ticket for £19.59. And these are called the shadow seats. Now, it is not guaranteed that your seat, if you win the lottery, will be front row. However, the entire front row is offered on this lottery. So if you win, you have a pretty good chance at being front row in the stalls. This is probably the most immersive way to experience Stranger Things: The First Shadow. So if you like that, this is probably going to be a good way to experience it. If you don't want a lot of the immersive elements that I will explain a little bit later into the video, I would recommend staying away from this as a way to see Stranger Things. But I mean, at that price, and with that decent of a view, I took it. I took it. If you enter the lottery, you are allowed up to 2 tickets. I only went for 1, which does make it a little bit easier to win the lottery. But if you have more than one friend, I'd recommend pre-booking. And if you win the lottery, you don't find out where you're sat in the theatre until you pick up your tickets from the box office. So if you're someone who needs to know exactly where they're sat before you go and see a show, if you're someone who goes on websites like Seat Plan to see your exact view, this isn't available and this isn't something you can do if you win the lottery. Moving on to actually going into the theatre. Once you've picked up your tickets or scanned them, you will be allowed to go to different areas in the theatre. Now, there are 3 main bars in the Phoenix Theatre, and there are several different entry points, which I'm going to try and use Google Maps to show you on screen right now. You have the box office and the entrance to the stalls and the dress circle, which is down the side street of the theatre. You also have a nice mini marquee here, which is good for some photos with a beautiful neon sign. If you enter straight from the box office, you will have a main bar in the foyer area. You can buy pretzels here, which they are doing specifically for this show. You can pick up some of the merch here as well, and buy some drinks here too. You are then greeted by 2 staircases, one going down on the left and one going up on the right. If you go down, that's going to lead you to the stalls, and if you go up, I'm pretty sure that leads you to the dress circle. At least it did, and it was an entrance when the show Come From Away was there. This also typically has a lot of photo ops as well, and the staircase normally has something on it as well. This is not something that I can confirm because I actually didn't go upstairs to the dress circle area, but I'm sure someone in the comments can let me know if there are some photo ops and if the bar up there is still open. During Come From Away's time in that theatre, it was called the Rock Bar. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be called that anymore. I'm going to speak specifically about my experience, which was going downstairs to the stalls. Here you have another really small merch bit. They have this quite nice clock that holds a lot of the merch, so you can very easily see it and get a nice grasp of it before you buy it. But it is a very cramped and tiny area. There is another staircase down which will lead you into a bit of a bigger bar if you want to get some drinks before the show. So if you do enter this area straight away, you do have everything you need, really. But I would really recommend making sure before you actually go into the stalls or the dress circle, going into the new bar area that the Phoenix has opened up. Now, on the main street of the Phoenix Theatre, there used to be this row of shops that weren't necessarily associated with the theatre, but they were attached to it. Meaning that the Phoenix was like a weird kind of like split off area between the main neon sign and the actual entrance to the theatre. What they have done now is since the closure of Splitting Image at the Phoenix, they have acquired all of these shops, closed them down, and renovated this area into a brand new bar. And honestly, it is gorgeous. This is an area you really want to go and see before you go into the actual auditorium. It is stunning. And this is where you will find the much bigger merch store. This area is actually also open throughout the day. So even if you're not seeing the show, you can go in, get a coffee or a donut, and get any of the merch that you want. It's genius to have this area open even beyond showtimes. So if you want a nice place to go in London, or if you can't see the show but want to get one of the little plush Demogorgons, you can. In the merch store, you can get a variety of different things. I'm hoping that I got a photo of the prices, which I can put on screen right now, but you can get a scarf, you can get t-shirts, you can get plushies, you can get programs. I'll walk you through the things I got. So first of all, as you may notice that I've been wearing it for this entire video, and right now I am struggling to take it off, I'm just going to lean in. You can get this enamel pin badge. So Stranger Things The First Shadow. It's a very simple badge. You can get it for £6. I was kind of hoping for something a little bit more creative out of the pin badge, but I mean, this is cute. This is cute. It's nice. If you want a program, it is this thing. It is the biggest program I have ever seen. This is bigger than the one you can get at Cabaret. This is giant. This is giant. And there's no like smaller version of the program. There's no like typical ATG program. So this is the one you get. And this is bigger than my head. Didn't even fit into my bag. If I literally had to like do that to fit it into my bag. It is giant. It is so big, but it has a lot of information about the show. Some really interesting little tidbits in here about like comics, which the show focuses on a lot. Gives you a nice recap of the show as well. There's a lot of really interesting things in this program, but it is on the pricier side for theatre programs. It is £10. So if you're not really going to read any of that, I would recommend you don't really need it. There are enough places in the theatre, there's enough screens that give you the cast list, and these are even more updated than the program, and will tell you if you have any understudies on as well, so you don't necessarily need the program. What you do need to buy, though, is this. This is the best purchase I have ever made, ever. They sell plush Demogorgons, and this is so soft. This is so soft. It now sits on top of my PC, and I've named her Demi the Demigorgon. It also has a little bow tie, like little ribbon that says London on it. So if they ever take this show somewhere else, I assume that this will get updated to say like New York if they take it to Broadway, which, like, let's be honest, this show is going to go to Broadway at some point. This will set you back £15 and is the best £15 I have ever spent. As I said, there is a variety of different merch, which I'm hopefully showing you on screen right now, but you've got everything that you need. I'm surprised they don't have more, honestly. I thought this was going to be just like the show down the street, which will not be named, which, like, went bombastic with the merch there. But Stranger Things has a pretty decent selection, and I would be surprised if they don't add more to it as the show goes on. Next up, you're going to go into the auditorium. Now, while you're in the foyer areas or the bars, you are allowed to take photos on your phone, but when you enter the theatre, when you actually enter the actual auditorium, you will get a sticker placed onto your phone. This is very similar to shows like Cabaret, which has adopted this style. Did it work as well as Cabaret? Absolutely not. I saw so many people taking photos and just immediately peeling off the sticker when they stepped into the theatre. Obviously, once you get your sticker, you're allowed to keep it. It's currently on my notebook. But it says in 1959, there were no social media spoilers. It's a nice sentiment, but I saw so many people taking photos of the stage at the end of the show. But I'm sure if people are seen taking photos, the ushers will stop you. It's just a bit harder when everyone is stood up and leaving the theatre. This is why I recommend, if you want to get photos at Stranger Things, do it outside. Do it in the bar areas. Do it at the natural photo ops that they are giving you, instead of waiting to get into the theatre. Because once you get into the theatre, no. Now, general content warnings. What I'm going to say to try and avoid spoilers is that if you can watch the TV show, if you can deal with the level of gore in the TV show, you will be absolutely fine watching the play. There is a lot of blood, as you can probably expect from Stranger Things. There's a lot of gore. If you've seen season 4, it's about that level. You can, as this play follows Henry Creel, young Vecna, you can kind of assume that that kind of thing that happens in season 4 happens quite a few times in the play. And there is actually a couple of jump scares here and there, which can get you a little bit, but they're not the worst things in the world. If you can handle the TV show, I can pretty confidently say that you can handle this play. There's nothing like extra that it really does. There's one moment that really stretches the gore a little bit, but for the most part, I think it very much feels like the similar kind of content warning. I wouldn't call it a very scary play, but it is very gory. There is a lot of blood. There is so much blood. And there's some really cool effects and moments that do lean into the more horror vibe that Stranger Things does have. But these moments come off a lot more creepy than they do scary. Now, let's talk about where to sit. My general recommendation, if you are seeing the show for the first time and you want to experience the full thing, I would recommend sitting either mid-stalls or the front of dress circle. I think the front of dress circle is going to be your best bet because you actually get to see the full image. There's a lot of things that stretch, trying to avoid too many spoilers here. There's a few things that happen that stretch beyond the actual stage. So if you want to see the full picture, I would recommend actually sitting one tier up. Typically, the front of dress circle is going to be quite expensive, but this was going to be your best place to get the full picture of everything happening on that stage. I would avoid pretty much completely, if you haven't seen the show for the first time, towards the back of any of the tiers, because there's a lot of things that happen quite high on the stage level. There's scenes in attics that take place quite high up. There's a lot of floating that you will miss. There's a lot of details that if you're sitting towards the back, you're going to miss some of the most important moments visually from this show. Most of these areas are quite discounted tickets. Like I saw the back of the stalls being sold for about £30, which feels like quite a fair price. But if you really do want to experience this show in its entirety and not miss anything because of where you're sat in the theatre, that's my recommendation. Try and avoid those areas for your first visit. And if you have to go for one of those areas, I would actually probably recommend the Grand and the back of the Grand or the back of the dress a lot more than I would recommend the back of the stalls. Because in my experience, and especially knowing what this show has, this tends to have the most restricted view. If you want to be the most immersed into the show and you want the most immersive Stranger Things experience, front row is definitely where you want to go. You want to enter that lottery. There are certain moments that you miss, or you can only see like a very slim part of the performers because this stage is quite high. It's not the worst in the world. I actually think that this stage and how high the stage is better than when Come From Away was there. But there are a lot of moments that happen towards the back of the stage. There's a lot of little things that you may miss here and there, especially being so close to the front. There's a lot of times where I felt like I was really darting my eyes to either side of the stage, trying to comprehend the full image that I couldn't quite get. But if you want to be immersed, my God, these seats are immersive. The first 10 minutes of the show are the most immersive element. Once this has happened, it's pretty by the numbers for the rest of the show. Now, I am going to talk about some of the things you can expect if you sit in front row, trying to avoid the actual plot spoilers for these moments, but telling you the kind of effects that happen. If you want to be completely not spoiled, skip to the next part of this video. There are chapters in the description. If you're on mobile and you tap the screen right now, you can see there's a chapter list that you can click, skip to the next part, and you'll be Gucci. Again, as I said, no plot details are going to be given, but this will say some of the things you can expect. Now, if you sit front row, you have a lot of performers that will walk past you. You get a lot of flashlights in your face. So if you do suffer from sensory issues, these are definitely not going to be the seats for you. There's also the opportunity to be singled out as a member of the audience. If you're roughly sitting in seat 11 or 10 of the stalls, for a moment in the show where you will get some flashlights shone on you and you will be addressed. You don't need to participate as anything, you would just be singled out. There's also, if you want the weirdest collectible ever, there is also a moment in the show where a piece of the set is taken off and broken up a little bit and thrown into the audience. So if you are sitting close enough into the stalls, you can own a piece of the Stranger Things set. Do I own a piece of the Stranger Things set now? Yes, I do. You want to see it? So, I have this. Is it the weirdest collectible I own? Yes. But I own a piece of the Stranger Things set, and I think that's pretty cool. If you are front row as well, there are a lot of opportunities to get covered in things. If you are sitting roughly in seats, I would say it's about anywhere between 17 to 15, there is a strong chance that you are going to get covered in a dirt-like substance. And there are also some water droplets, this kind of like foam thing. I couldn't quite tell because obviously I was just kind of having it fall onto me, but it felt very like foam-like when a show has like fake snow coming down. That falls across like the front of the theatre. So if you are sitting in these seats, there are opportunities for you to get covered in a little bit of liquid. As well as that, if you wanted to deal with the liquid side of the elements, you can also get blasted with a lot of air, which is probably the most unexpected but cool part of the front row experience. As a lot of smoke comes out and then gets blasted away by these massive fans in the front of the stage. This is something that obviously you're going to get the most impact to your front row, but even if you are a couple of rows back into the stalls, I can expect that you would still feel this giant jolt of air. As you can tell from all of that, the front rows are very immersive. A lot of this happens at like the very start of Act 1, so it's not the most immersive experience ever, But there are a lot of cool details. I do wish, personally, that these were stretched a bit more throughout the show, and there were a few more little things that you can expect to happen if you are front row, because when these happen, they're really, really cool, and definitely make front row a really exciting experience if you are sitting there. Obviously, this may not be perfect for everyone, which is why I recommend that if you do have sensory issues, if you don't like lights shot in your face, if you don't like this, that, and the other, if you don't like a lot of the things that I've expressed and said happen, I would highly recommend sitting a little bit further back. And finally, let's talk about leaving the theatre. Now, once a show is finished, the actors have come out and taken their bows, and you're making your way out of the theatre, you can actually get a free piece of merch. This is something that Come From Away also did at the same theatre, where after every performance, they were handing out badges as you exited the theatre. I almost missed this, which is why I'm giving it a section in the video, because I only had one usher handing it out on a very specific door, which when I saw it was the middle door of like the main exit. So make sure you're paying attention if you want a free badge. But let me show you this. As you can see here, it's a very simple badge. It just has the show logo on it, which makes the pin badge even weirder. Like, if you're just going to give out a free badge with the show logo on it, why is your pin badge also got the show logo on it? But yeah, beggars can't be choosers. This is a nice piece of merch, a very exclusive piece of merch if you want it. The staff at the Phoenix are lovely, so I'm sure if you wanted another one to bring home to your family or friends, I'm sure they would let you take a second one. And so that is your guide on seeing Stranger Things: The First Shadow. Hopefully I haven't given too many spoilers. I feel like I haven't spoiled anything. Please don't sue me, Netflix. But that is what to expect as you go into Stranger Things: The First Shadow. If you have any further questions, if you want to leave them in the comments down below, I'm going to try my best to answer them as much as I can. If you want more details on the actual show itself, I'm going to be reviewing it after the show is opened on the 14th of December. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you want to see all of my thoughts on Stranger Things. I have a lot of thoughts. So stay tuned for that. If you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting like and subscribe. It really helps me out, helps that channel. Here's some links to my videos on the screen right now, and a link to my Instagram if you want to drop me a follow over there. But that's it for me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!